Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Betsy and I make makeup and beauty history videos. And if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then I will leave a playlist of every single time period that I've done so far in the description for you. Today we're doing something a bit different. This was not on my plans at all. However, ND Goodnight requested that I do a video on the makeup of the Tang Dynasty era in China. So that's what we're doing today. Please bear in mind that I am not an expert. I do these videos purely for fun. I don't get paid to do them by any means or whatever. Literally just because I love researching cultures and the history of their cosmetics. So there may be some things that I do say in this that are slightly incorrect. Please feel free to correct me in the comments. As long as we all keep our comments nice and pleasant to each other. If I catch an attitude in my comments section, I'm just gonna delete it because I can't be bothered dealing with that. So if you love makeup or you love history, or if like me you love both combined, then please subscribe so you don't miss where we travel to next. But today we are of course traveling to China in the era of the Tang Dynasty. And obviously I can't get every single one of these looks to be as absolutely historically accurate as I would like to with my modern products, but if you would like a little visual representation of what makeup in the Tang Dynasty era might have looked like, then please keep watching. The Tang Dynasty makeup style can almost be said to be the most versatile in the entire ancient history of China. There were set ways to do your makeup, however how you did those designs and shapes really depended on your own personal style. The Tang Dynasty stands as a golden era in Chinese history, celebrated not only for its artistic innovations and cultural achievement, but also for its strikingly progressive makeup and fashion styles. In the early Tang Dynasty, the royal family advocated for simplicity and not living a particularly luxurious lifestyle. Therefore, the overall makeup in this era was graceful and slightly more subtle. Throughout Chinese history, it was popular to wear a whitening lead powder as a base on your face to achieve a perfect porcelain complexion. And for those in lower classes who couldn't afford lead, rice powder was used instead, either in its dry form or mixed with animal fat as a kind of foundation. However, because this was a cheaper quality product, it didn't last as long on the face. And like most ancient time periods up until this point, pale skin was the beauty ideal because it meant that you were rich enough to sit inside leisurely all day and not have a labour-intensive job out in the sun. According to Chinese makeup history, there were over 100 different ways to wear your eyebrows. However, in the early Tang era they were kept fairly simple and generally in a slight semicircle shape meant to represent a mountain's silhouette. But the art of shaping and defining the eyebrows has been beloved throughout all Chinese beauty history. Black, green and blue eyebrow powders were available at the time, as well as eyebrow pens. Eyebrows were an integral part of any makeup trend throughout the era and were often as intricate as any other aspect of the makeup. Women would pluck their eyebrows in various shapes and depending on what was trendy at the time, sometimes would pluck their eyebrows off completely and redraw on the shape. But during the Tang Dynasty specifically, artistic brows were rampant and could vary from this bird-like shape to simple dots. Crushed conch shells and indigo powder were commonly used by the higher classes for this. And again, these expensive options did have some funky colours, mainly blue, green and dark violet, but also black as well, while some more inexpensive and more readily available options were charred willow bark and writing ink. Blush and rouge were again very important in this era. Common ingredients included aminium, aka red lead, or vermilion, which is a mercury-based pigment, or natural pigments made from safflower were prominently used. These ingredients, however, again, were very expensive. Thus, working class women would use dried rose petals, peonies, beetroot, or other natural red powders that they could concoct, but again these didn't last as long on the face. While most blushes were red, there was actually a trend in the early dynasty of using yellow blush, and especially on the forehead, although this trend faded after the Song Dynasty. Yellow forehead blush was also a symbol of devotion to Buddhism and originates from women copying the golden glow of a gold Buddha statue. Rouge has a deep-rooted history in Chinese culture and often applied in unique shapes to create various facial illusions, and I'll go through some of the blush and general makeup trends in a sec. I just want to talk about the ingredients first, but we will get to those. To make the face appear wider and chubbier, which was desired during the High Tang, women applied rouge liberally across the lower half of the jaw. To make the face appear more hollow and angular, which was desired during the Middle Tang, light pink and yellow was used across the temple to create a slightly more hollow shape effect. An interesting aspect as well of the early Tang's makeup style is these straight lines that they used to do. Commonly painted originated on the cheeks and the temples called Jihong, aka temple cuts, and I will go into that a little bit more in a sec. And they were also commonly drawn across the forehead as well. Moving on from the early Tang, I know, the star of the show, as the dynasty developed, a Huadian forehead design became prevalent. In this dynasty, organic and natural influenced shapes were the most popular, and the Tang Empress very highly encouraged her people to be creative with this design. The Huadian was traditionally done using the same red colour on the cheeks and the lips. However, during the later years of the Tang Dynasty and afterwards, it could also have accents of yellow, orange and blue. The rich could also obviously afford to get very creative with theirs, eventually incorporating gold flake, delicate little fish scales that they'd stick on, rare feathers and even small jewels. This is my reference for my Huadian today. I did map it out first with a little eyebrow liner because it's quite a complicated shape. It took me a little while to do, but I feel beautiful with this makeup on, honestly. Huadian originated from the legend of Princess Xu Yang, whose beauty was said to have inspired this trend. Princess Xu Yang fell asleep beneath a plum tree, upon which a plum blossom landed on her forehead. When she woke up, she tried to wash it off for 3 days and 3 nights, despite everyone around her being captivated by this floral mark. But she couldn't wash it off, and by the time it actually did wash off, all of the ladies of the court had begun to copy her by drawing flowers on their head in hopes to achieve this look. Dimple dots were initially placed on both sides of the lips, but eventually expanded to adorn other areas throughout the face. And again, the rich could afford to get quite eccentric with theirs, again often incorporating little jewels to stick on. From the tops of the forehead down all over the cheek. It started out here, but eventually it kind of expanded to the rest of the face. This accent is actually popular among other time periods in China, but was very prevalent in the Tang, again specifically. Let's move back on to the Jihong temple cuts. Occasionally a vertical semicircle line was placed on the temples, again using the same red pigment that they would use to paint on their Huadian. Again, often in this very naturalistic flower-inspired design. I found a little chart of all of the Huadian and Jihong designs that were popular at the time. I'll throw these up here now. While generally this style of Jihong was not worn in conjunction with this intricate as a Huadian, it was also a staple of the dynasty's beauty standard. It was meant to represent facial scars that were drawn from the corner of the eye down over the cheeks on the temple, also known as drawn marks. These marks originate from the Weijin dynasties and were again applied in various shapes and motifs, again from straight crescent forms to shapes mimicking animals and flowers. And again, the rich could afford to get very intricate with their designs, often painting on very, very intricate birds or again flowers, as they had more time to do these tiny pieces of art. Among these unique designs were flying phoenixes and blooming flowers. Reportedly as well, diamonds, bouquets of flowers and rain clouds were also a popular design as well. This unique touch was said to have originated from the story of Zhu Yilei, a famous concubine who was on the way to see the emperor at night, but when she entered the emperor's study, it was very dark and she didn't see a large crystal screen that was in her way. She accidentally ran into the screen and it left 2 cuts along her temples. Later she tried to heal the cut and fade the scar, but to no avail. When the emperor saw this, he was so enamored with her makeup, saying it resembled the rising sun peeking over the horizon. Therefore, again it became a trend, especially among his other concubines who wanted to look just like her. During the Tang Dynasty, again there were many different ways to wear your lipstick, and as the time period developed, again they had their own trends for these makeup styles. And this ancient expensive lipstick was again made from either the red lead or the vermilion again. And again, the lower class women would make their own little red concoctions and mix this with animal fats to apply it. And sometimes fragrant herbs like cloves or jasmine were used as well to give this a slight scent. Throughout majority of Chinese history, however, lipstick was primarily placed on the very, very center of the lips to create a delicate feminine rosebud appearance. However, during the Tang Dynasty, fully filled in lips or this 4-leaf clover shape were the most trendy. However, women's pursuit of beauty in the Tang Dynasty did not stop there. As we move up the timeline, their facial makeup also changed a lot. Huadians became more intricate and women would apply a lot more red to their faces, but this is for a reason. For example, one of the main trends, Zhiyun makeup, meant to look like how a woman looks after drinking wine, became very prevalent and was very, very heavy on the red colour on the face. Under Empress Wu, body positivity and a a preference for larger women began to thrive. And this change in body ideals was actually reflected in the makeup as well. A blush was applied to give the illusion of a round moon-like face. Wide set and flared eyebrows were also trendy in accompaniment to emphasize the sort of round shape here. Tear makeup was also trendy, with a pattern shape applied with the white powder over the red rouge, meant to represent tear stains, was also trendy. It is said that this makeup style was invented by Madame Goa. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm really trying hard to pronounce things properly. I'm really sorry if I don't. But the madam went out into the palace and commented that the colour of this rouge was too strong, so put this plain powder on her cheeks over the rouge, and eventually this evolved into it being patterned. Tea makeup also first originated in the Eastern Han Dynasty and became popular again at the height of the Tang Dynasty as well. In tea makeup, a woman would apply rouge under her eyes and then draw eyebrows in the shape of the Chinese character 8, and then blend the rouge up around her eyes as well. That's kind of why I've done that as well today. And this trend was meant to represent a peaceful and humble approach to beauty. In the middle to late Tang Dynasty, women's makeup styles didn't really change. There wasn't really anything new that they were doing. And again, makeup started to become slightly simplistic again, and there weren't many new styles that they were really doing. The most prominent of the late Tang Dynasty's makeup was shishi makeup. Based on the tea makeup trend, basically the cheeks were painted really red, but black lipstick became quite trendy, and eyebrows painted as the end of the forked fen shao eyebrow. By the late Tang period, however, shishi makeup was out of fashion, black lips were no longer trendy, and zhiyun makeup began to prevail, where a woman would draw on these purple or red lines on her face, again meant to represent scars, giving the impression of a bloodied wound. There are many more makeup trends of this era. I found a really good blog that has gone through all of them, so I will link that in the description for you if you do want to do a little bit more research on that. But if I try and go through every single one, I will be sat here for about 3 hours. So, Nua Hanfu is who I got a lot of my information from, and she goes through a lot more of the makeup trends than I have, so if you would like to see that, then I will link that down there somewhere. Oh, before I go, I also forgot to mention eyeliner was also used at the time, that's why I've done it today. However, again, it wasn't such a requirement, like it depended on your own personal style. So I just did a little tiny little eyeliner today as a little in-between of that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I really enjoyed filming it. I love learning about other cultures and the history of their cosmetics and the makeup styles that they did. I mean, that's what my whole channel is about, so yeah. But again, I feel absolutely beautiful with this makeup on. I love it so much. Thank you very much to ND Goodnight, who requested this video. If you yourself have any requests for any specific time periods that you would like to see, then please let me know. I'm trying to go in a semi-chronological order for this, so I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I might do Elizabethan makeup, but that's a bit of like a big jump from the Tang Dynasty, so I don't know. See what I feel like doing next week. But yeah, once again, I will leave a playlist of every single time period that I've done so far in the description for you. And I think that's all I want to say. I don't know why I'm singing. But yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video as well.